ma'am, step away from the property. We received a report of someone casing houses in this neighborhood.
Casing houses? I'm showing this house. I'm the listing agent. That's my sign in the yard.
Anyone can stand next to a sign. Show me proof you're authorized to be here.
My name is Tamara Hughes. My clients are right there in the driveway. I have the lockbox key.
That doesn't prove anything. Turn around, hands behind your back.
The Ring doorbell camera mounted on the front door of 4847 Willowbrook Lane recorded everything that Tuesday afternoon at 2:23 p.m. What it captured would be viewed over 14 million times in the first week after it was released, sparking outrage across the country and exposing the reality of what can happen when someone decides you don't belong in a neighborhood. Tamara Hughes had been a real estate agent for 12 years. She was showing a $1.2 million listing to a young couple who had driven from 3 hours away to see it. The house was in Westbrook Estates, one of the most desirable neighborhoods in the county. And 23 minutes into that showing, she would be handcuffed in the driveway while her clients watched in horror. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps us bring more truth to light. Tamara Hughes was 38 years old, born and raised in this same county. Her mother had been a nurse at the county hospital for 32 years. Her father had owned a small landscaping business that had maintained yards throughout the county, including some in Westbrook Estates. She had graduated from the local high school, gone to state for her business degree, and returned home to build her career. She had started in real estate at 26, working for a small brokerage that specialized in first-time homebuyers. She worked hard, earned her broker's license at 31, and 3 years ago had opened her own firm. Hughes Realty now employed 6 agents and had closed $47 million in sales the previous year. She was the top-producing agent in the county for 3 consecutive years. The house at 4847 Willowbrook Lane had been listed for 11 days. The sellers were a retired couple relocating to Florida to be closer to their grandchildren. Tamara had done the listing presentation, taken the photos, written the marketing copy, and held 2 open houses. Her face was on the listing. Her name was on the sign. Her lockbox was on the door. She had shown this house 4 times already, never had an issue, never had a complaint. The neighbors had seen her coming and going for nearly 2 weeks, but that Tuesday, someone decided she looked suspicious. The couple she was showing the house to, Michael and Jennifer Warren, had driven from 3 hours north specifically to see this property. They were pre-approved for a mortgage, had already sold their current home, and were ready to make an offer if the house met their expectations. Tamara had spent 45 minutes on the phone with them the night before, answering questions, describing the neighborhood, explaining the school district. She arrived at 2 p.m., 15 minutes before the scheduled showing, to turn on lights and open curtains. Her white sedan was parked in the driveway. Her real estate sign was clearly visible in the front yard. Tamara Hughes, Hughes Realty, with her photo, phone number, and the word listing agent in bold letters. The Warrens arrived at 2:18 p.m. They parked behind Tamara's car. They got out, walked up the driveway, and Tamara met them at the front door with a warm handshake and a printed property sheet. The Ring doorbell recorded all of it. The friendly greeting, the Warrens walking through the front door, Tamara explaining the entryway and the open floor plan visible from the entrance. They were inside for approximately 5 minutes when Tamara suggested they look at the backyard before continuing the interior tour. The yard was one of the property's best features. Professionally landscaped, mature trees, a covered patio perfect for entertaining. She unlocked the back slider and led them outside. That's when the first police car arrived. Marjorie Kensington was 67 years old and had lived at 4851 Willowbrook Lane for 19 years. She was the self-appointed guardian of the neighborhood, the woman who attended every HOA meeting, who noted when trash cans were left out too long, who tracked every unfamiliar car that entered the cul-de-sac. She had watched Tamara arrive. She had watched the Warrens arrive. She had seen them enter the house. And despite the real estate sign in the yard, despite Tamara's car with the Hughes Realty magnetic signs on both doors, despite every visible indication that this was a legitimate showing, Marjorie Kensington picked up her phone and called 911. Her call was recorded. The transcript would become Exhibit A in the lawsuit. Yes, I'd like to report a suspicious situation. There's a black woman who's been going in and out of my neighbor's house. The neighbors are in Florida. I think she might be casing it or trying to rob it. The dispatcher asked if the caller had seen any signs of forced entry. Marjorie said no. The dispatcher asked if the woman appeared to be taking anything from the house. Marjorie said she couldn't tell. The dispatcher asked if there was a real estate sign in the yard. Marjorie said yes, but that didn't mean anything. Anyone could put up a sign. The dispatcher asked if the woman appeared to have a key or access code. Marjorie said she did, but she might have stolen it. 2 patrol cars were dispatched. Officer Derek Hammond was first on scene, arriving at 2:23 p.m. He was 41 years old, a 14-year veteran of the department, and had been the subject of 3 prior complaints for aggressive behavior during calls, none of which had resulted in discipline. His dash cam captured him pulling up to the house. His body cam captured him exiting the vehicle, approaching the front yard, observing the real estate sign, and continuing toward the house anyway. The Ring doorbell recorded what happened next. Tamara and the Warrens were still in the backyard when they heard the doorbell ring. Tamara walked through the house to answer it, assuming it might be another interested buyer who had seen the listing online. Sometimes people drop by during showings. It happened. She opened the door to find Officer Hammond on the porch, hand resting on his belt near his weapon. "Ma'am, step out of the house, please. We've received a report of suspicious activity." Tamara's heart rate spiked. She had heard about these calls. She had friends who had been stopped while doing their jobs in neighborhoods where they didn't look like they belonged. She had always thought it wouldn't happen to her. She was a successful businesswoman, a member of the Chamber of Commerce, a contributor to local charities. But none of that mattered in this moment. "Is there a problem, officer? We've had a call about someone casing houses in this area. I need you to step outside." Tamara stepped onto the porch. She kept her hands visible. She stayed calm. "I'm the listing agent for this property. My name is Tamara Hughes. That's my sign in the yard. Those are my clients in the backyard. I'm showing the house." Hammond looked at the sign. He looked at Tamara. His body cam captured the doubt in his eyes, the unwillingness to simply accept what was obviously true. Anyone can stand next to a sign. "I need to see ID and proof you have authorization to be here." Tamara pulled her wallet from her pocket slowly, keeping her movements deliberate. She produced her driver's license and her real estate license. "Here's my ID. Here's my state real estate license. My business cards are in my car. The listing agreement with the sellers is on file with my office. The lockbox code is 7294. I have the keys in my hand because I just unlocked the back door for my clients." Hammond took the IDs but barely glanced at them. A second officer had arrived, Officer Kevin Price, who was now standing at the edge of the driveway. The Warrens had come around from the backyard, drawn by the commotion, and were standing near their car, phones out, recording. "These could be fake. We need to verify your identity and your authorization to be in this house. Do you think officers should be required to check listing information before making arrests? Comment below, because what happened next would shock the entire real estate community." Tamara felt anger rising in her chest, but kept it controlled. She had been trained for this not by any agency but by life, by her mother who had told her what to do if she was ever stopped by police, by the reality of being a black woman in a world that sometimes saw her as a threat simply for existing. "Call my office. The number is on the sign. Call the listing service. The MLS number is right there. Call the homeowners. Their number is on file. I can give you 5 different ways to verify in the next 30 seconds that I am exactly who I say I am." Hammond's jaw tightened. He didn't like being told how to do his job. He especially didn't like being told by someone he had already decided was suspicious. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to turn around." "Excuse me? Turn around. Hands behind your back." The Ring camera captured Tamara's face. The disbelief, the dawning horror that this was actually happening. "You're arresting me? For showing a house that I'm the listing agent for? I'm detaining you while we verify your story." Michael Warren stepped forward from where he was standing by his car. "Officer, we're her clients. She's been showing us the house for the last 20 minutes. We have an appointment. We drove 3 hours to see this property. Hammond turned toward him. Sir, stay back. This doesn't concern you. It absolutely concerns me. You're arresting our real estate agent in the middle of a showing for no reason. I'm not going to tell you again. Step back or you'll be detained too. Jennifer Warren pulled out her phone and began recording more openly. Hammond turned back to Tamara. Last chance. Turn around voluntarily or I will turn you around. Tamara made the same calculation that thousands of Black Americans make in these moments. Fight and risk escalation. Comply and hope that the truth eventually comes out. She turned around. She put her hands behind her back. She felt the metal of the handcuffs close around her wrists. The Ring camera recorded it all. A successful real estate agent in front of a house she was legitimately showing, but being handcuffed in the driveway while her clients protested. Officer Price had walked over to the real estate sign. He pulled out his phone and appeared to be looking something up. After about 2 minutes, his face changed. Derek, he called. Derek, hold on a second. Hammond had already walked Tamara to his patrol car, his body cam recording her sitting in the back seat, her face a mixture of fury and humiliation. What is it? Price walked over, lowering his voice, but the body cam audio still picked it up. I looked up the listing. She's the agent. Her face is on the MLS listing. Hughes Realty. It matches her license. Hammond's face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Denial, realization, fear. She's still being uncooperative. Uncooperative? Derek, she told you who she was. She showed you her ID. She told you the lockbox code. She offered multiple ways to verify. We just arrested the listing agent for showing her own property. The body cam caught Hammond's long exhale. The sound of a man who knew he had just destroyed his career. The homeowners, Thomas and Sarah Chen, were watching everything through their Ring doorbell camera from their new condo in Florida. They had received an alert the moment Hammond rang the bell. They had watched the entire confrontation in real time on their phones. Sarah Chen called the police department. Her call was also recorded. My name is Sarah Chen. I own the house at 4847 Willowbrook Lane. I am watching through my doorbell camera as your officers arrest my real estate agent. Tamara Hughes is authorized to be in my house. I signed a listing agreement with her. She has been showing my house for almost 2 weeks. You need to release her immediately. The dispatcher patched her through to the sergeant on duty. The sergeant contacted Hammond by radio. The radio traffic was also recorded. Unit 47, this is dispatch. We have the homeowner on the line. She confirms the individual you have detained is the authorized listing agent for the property. Hammond's response was captured on his body cam audio. Copy that. He walked back to his patrol car. He opened the back door. He removed the handcuffs from Tamara's wrist. There's been a misunderstanding. You're free to go. Tamara stepped out of the car. Her wrists had red marks where the cuffs had been too tight. Her clients were standing by their car, no longer recording, just staring in disbelief at what they had witnessed. A misunderstanding? Tamara's voice was shaking now, the composure finally cracking. You just handcuffed me in front of my clients. You arrested me for doing my job. You treated me like a criminal because someone decided a black woman couldn't possibly be a real estate agent in this neighborhood. Hammond had nothing to say. Price was staring at the ground. Marjorie Kensington was visible in her window across the street, watching. Tamara turned to the Warrens. I am so sorry. I understand if you want to reschedule with a different agent. Jennifer Warren walked forward and hugged her. Michael Warren put his hand on her shoulder. We're not rescheduling. And we're not using a different agent. We want to see the rest of the house. They finished the showing. 40 minutes later, the Warrens submitted an offer, $15,000 over asking price. The offer was accepted that evening. But Tamara Hughes was just getting started. The Ring footage went viral before sunset. The homeowners had released it immediately, furious that their agent had been treated this way. The Warrens shared it on every platform they could find. Local news picked it up that night. National news by the next morning. The real estate community responded with overwhelming support. Agents from across the country shared their own stories of being stopped, questioned, and harassed while showing properties in wealthy neighborhoods. The hashtag #ShowingWhileBlack trended for 3 days. Tamara retained civil rights attorney Marcus Webb, who had successfully litigated multiple cases involving false arrest and racial profiling. He reviewed all the footage, the ring camera, both body cams, the dash cam, the 911 call recording, the radio traffic. The lawsuit was filed 4 weeks later. Tamara Hughes versus the City of Westbrook, Officer Derek Hammond and Marjorie Kensington. The claims: false arrest, civil rights violation under Section 1983, racial profiling, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The evidence was devastating. The 911 call showed Kensington explicitly mentioning race as the basis for her suspicion. Hammond's body cam showed him ignoring multiple forms of identification and verification offered by Tamara. The timeline showed that verification of her credentials took less than 2 minutes once someone actually bothered to try. The department's own records showed Hammond had 3 prior complaints for similar behavior. The city tried to settle quickly. They offered $150,000 and an apology. Webb sent back a one-word response: no. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Tamara testified about the humiliation of being handcuffed in front of her clients. The Warrens testified about what they witnessed. The Chens testified via video link about watching the arrest happen through their doorbell camera. 7 other real estate agents of color testified about their own experiences being stopped and questioned in affluent neighborhoods. The jury saw all the footage. They heard the 911 call. They watched Hammond ignore every piece of evidence Tamara offered. They watched him handcuff a woman who was doing exactly what she said she was doing. The deliberation took 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. The damages: $9.7 million, $4.2 million in compensatory damages, $4 million in punitive damages against the city, $1.5 million against Kensington personally for her role in initiating the false report. Hammond was terminated. His law enforcement certification was revoked. He would never work as a police officer again. Kensington sold her house 3 months after the verdict and moved out of state. Her name had become synonymous with the worst kind of neighborhood surveillance. Tamara Hughes continues to run Hughes Realty. Her business increased 40% in the year following the verdict. Agents who had been afraid to work in certain neighborhoods felt emboldened by her willingness to fight back. She used $1 million of her settlement to establish a fund providing legal support for real estate professionals who face discrimination on the job. She speaks regularly at real estate conferences about the reality of working while black in an industry where access to certain neighborhoods is often gatekept by people who decide you don't belong based on how you look. The house at 4847 Willowbrook Lane sold to Michael and Jennifer Warren. They closed 30 days after the incident. They have lived there for 2 years now. They are, by all accounts, wonderful neighbors. They wave to everyone. They don't call the police when someone new comes to show a house. If you believe real estate agents should be able to do their jobs without being arrested, that showing a house shouldn't require proving you belong. Hit that subscribe button. We've got more stories coming that show why cameras save careers and why sometimes justice requires a jury willing to say enough. Because in a neighborhood where a top-producing real estate agent can be handcuffed for showing her own listing, none of us are safe from assumption.